Kris Commons, welcome to this one-to-one. I might as well start by saying it's your official retirement. You're never going to kick a ball again. I've been waiting for it for such a long time.
I know. It's gone on too long now, isn't it? Do I announce it or not? No, just keep doing what I keep doing.
Yeah, I think when you keep turning up at our five-a-side game, it gives it away that you're not going to be signing for anybody. Back-to-back trebles would be something special for Brendan Rodgers. It would take some beating again as you set that bar ever higher. Do you think he'll be at Celtic next year?
I still think, yeah, he's got unfinished business, certainly in Europe. I think it's very, very difficult to try and hit the ground running so early on in the season to actually get in there. He's managed to obviously achieve that over the last 2 years. But I think certainly in the group stages, there's unfinished business for Brendan Rodgers' side of how he wants to play, his philosophy, his whole mentality of the players going into big games. He's shown glimpses, you know, the Man City game at Celtic Park, certainly the Bayern Munich game, but there's a lot of games there where there were question marks over, obviously, the mentality of the players thinking that they were Champions League players. And I think Brendan Rodgers has got to try and leave, if he is to leave his legacy, he's got to do something really, really significant in Europe.
What about his team? There's Player of the Year awards coming up. Do you think it'll be a Celtic player?
For Player of the Year, I don't think there's been any outstanding performers for Celtic other than probably Scott Brown. But he's a very, very consistent player. He has been for numerous years. Has he done enough to win Player of the Year? I'm unsure. But I think in the voting, I mean, there's not many players out there other than probably a Kilmarnock player. But again, it'd be very, very difficult to pick any other than a Celtic player with the achievements that they have accomplished over the last 24 months.
Yeah, is that you swaying towards your sidekick, Chris Boyd?
I think for a guy that was hanging his boots up 8 months ago to be, you know, almost leading the charts in the goal scoring, it's a phenomenal return and something that probably Rangers would do right now. You know, with Morales missing all the easy chances, that's Chris Boyd's, that's his territory, that's his bread and butter. So I think it's a phenomenal return. I'm obviously doing the punditry, the media work as well, getting his charity up and running. It's been a remarkable 12 months with the big man.
When you think of Manager of the Year, so many people have been suggesting Steve Clarke only come in October. Maybe even Stephen Robbins is in the mix. Maybe Neil Lennon, Jack Ross and Brendan Rodgers. Who's your shout?
I think if Celtic win the treble, it'll be very, very hard to put anyone in front of Brendan Rodgers. I think if you can do that over, like I say, 2 seasons back-to-back trebles is an incredible achievement. I still not achieved yet, but I fully expect him to beat Motherwell and do that. So it'd be hard to see past Brendan Rodgers. I think what the other managers do, especially Steve Clarke, what he's done is bordering on a miracle. When you think of the players in that dressing room, what is achieved is baffling at times. You know, and I sat down with Steve Clarke for a couple of minutes, and you know, I said, "What's your secret? What was the game plan?" He says, "Very, very simple. Keep it simple. Let the players know exactly what they need to do. Don't complicate it." He says, and they responded. And speaking to Lee McCulloch, he was on the obvious flip side. He thought he coached too much. Thought he, you know, attention to detail, doing set pieces, doing shape of play, trying to hammer down his philosophy in terms of this is what I want you to play. And he says it was just probably too much information, which is why Steve Clarke is doing so well.
You can't give it to a man who comes in October, though.
Like I said, Pete, I think if Brendan Rodgers does what he usually does in winning at Hampden, he should get the award. You mentioned Jack Ross there, tremendous achievement, obviously getting St Mirren promoted, but it'd be hard to see past a manager getting it who hasn't won the treble.
Tell me about Lenny. First-hand experience of him, you know him well. He's got a team there that have surprised many, and remember, they come up from the Championship.
Exactly, yeah, but they didn't have a Championship team. You know, we all knew that. They've got some quality players in there, experienced players, certain players that have certainly enhanced their reputation. When you think of Dylan McGeoch, obviously John McGinn, great young players, Scottish players that are now breaking into the national team. So what Neil Lennon's done there with that squad is very, very good, very consistent, and have got a real battle on for second. I think if they can finish second and there's a little upset in the cup final, then Neil Lennon should certainly be well in with a shout.
Yeah. What's so special about him in your mind?
It's his desire, his will to win. gives you an incredible inner belief. No manager has ever given me the belief that I could go and beat a Barcelona. You know, I think on paper, when you're looking at the set pieces and you're looking at their attacks, their weaknesses, if they did have any, you're thinking, how the hell are we going to do that? But it changed so drastically in 2 or 3 minute prep talk with Neil Lennon before he actually went out onto the park, and he actually thought, you know what, yeah. And he just gave you that inner belief. No manager's ever done that, and it's very difficult to try and put into people's minds that are not in football, that they almost automatically think, you're playing Barcelona, you know, you no pressure, just go and play. But actually, you feel so much pressure because you don't want to get embarrassed. So he gave me that inner belief.
Do you think you'll win something with Hibs?
It'd be very difficult. I think how dominant Celtic have been, you know, like I said, back-to-back trebles would be remarkable. It's very difficult to come up against a very, very strong Celtic team and try and win something. I think, you know, the league's well out of the grass. Can they win a cup? You know, if they get the right draw, maybe. But like I said, if you're coming up against a Celtic team that's banging form, it's very difficult for any team in the league, not just Hibs.
There's another Old Firm game on the horizon after the Hibs game. If it doesn't go according to plan at Easter Road, they could be in trying to win the title against Rangers. Rangers in the eye of a storm at the moment. What have you made of it all with Lee Wallace and Kenny Miller? It's
remarkable because I think, going back probably 3 games, before the last Old Firm game, you're probably looking, if Murty gets a result there, that he's potentially got the chance of getting a 12-month, maybe even 2-year deal at Rangers as manager. Now, within the couple of games that's gone past, and obviously the last Old Firm game, you're looking, he might not be there at all. I think whatever's going on in there is certainly a dressing room thing. But I think ultimately, Pete, you've got gentlemen in there that are Rangers fans. You know, Lee Wallace has gone through all the leagues with Rangers. It's club captain. He's no doubt he's frustrated about his injuries. Hell, if I was in that dressing room and got beat off Celtic 4-0, I'd be frustrated. So I just think it's a very, very frustrating 12 months for Rangers. Tempers have certainly boiled over. Listen, I've been in a dressing room where it's exactly the same. Forgive me for reminding you, but you're well aware of the controversy, the clash between yourself and Ronnie Dyler.
Yep.
It was there, it was public. It's very much on a parallel with Andy Halliday's situation when he was getting taken off as well. I think he was giving a verbal volley at someone. You know, you should never do it in a public eye. I think it always comes down to what has built it up and how long has it been built up. You know, Andy Halliday's not really played a great deal of football in the last 6 months. You know, he was out on loan. But it's clear, I thought, for me personally, him coming off and showing that sort of frustration, I don't think he was directing it to any sort of member of staff. It just seemed like it was a boil over, this huge frustration of, I'm not happy and this is what's happening. You know, we all know Andy Halliday's a real diehard Rangers supporter. At no point would he want to be brought off before half-time in front of his family, his friends, all his pals. It's an embarrassing situation. If Kenny Miller and Lee Wallace are jettisoned by Rangers, which we fully expect, it's a sad end to their long and illustrious career. It's people that care, professional people. Listen, Kenny's an extremely talented boy. He's done it at the top level. He's done it for both clubs. But he's probably in a position now where he's wanting to go into coaching. And I think when you are a player about to go into that line of work, it's certainly a respect that you give to all your coaches and your managers once you're on the other side. Something that you've got to deal with player power. You've got to deal with the demands of being a coach and manager. I think Kenny will look back and probably think, was I right to do it? If he fully feels he is right, then, you know, he'll move on. Yeah, apart from the big fallout you had with Ronnie Dyler, which was public, have you ever gone into a dressing room and it's been fisticuffs, it's been, you know, people telling you exactly what for? It's usually, to be fair, over the last couple of years when I was playing with Celtic, it was usually Neil Lennon that was coming in. He was more angry than anyone. So yeah, you'd kind of cower down and think, what's coming my way? But yeah, Neil could get extremely angry. But there was a reason, because you weren't performing. I fully expect that. And, you know, that's the sort of dressing room that I was in, where it was competitive. Certainly was a dressing room when he was in. Yeah. Did you ever think about giving it back to him, though? Plenty of verbal, yeah. But we had big characters in that dressing room at the time. People that were outspoken. Obviously myself, Scott Brown were in there, you know, club captain. He'd have his say. But ultimately, you're all trying to do the one thing, and that's improve, win games, and show a passion for the game that you want to win games.